Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to create this dashboard to analyze train rides in the UK for the year 2024 and for the first quarter, so from January up to until April. This data is coming from Marven Analytics on YouTube, so shout out to them, and then you can check out their channel for more data analysis video and things to try out also. So basically this is what we have, looking at the purchase type, reasons for delay, also looking at when the trips occurred, so the peak times and non-peak times, and then we also look here to look more in details about the routes and reasons for delay. So yeah, stay tuned and let's get started to how we would achieve this. And whether the person bought an advance ticket or just ready to use, the price where the trip departed from and the arrival destination, when the journey was taken, the exact time. So yeah, this is really good. And other things, so whether the journey was on time or delayed and the reason for the journey being delayed, and whether a refund was requested. So let's just get into this. It is always good to create a measures table to put all your measures in. So let's just first do that. We create our measures table. So yeah, now that is created, we can store all our measures here. So now let's go into the main visualizing pane and just start looking at the data that we are dealing with. Let's set also the size for this canvas. For that, let's just go to custom. We go to the height, let's say 1000. And the weight, let's give it 1600 so that we have enough space. And we see we have already, looking at the data dictionary, we would want to see the average price in that time period. So let's first create our measure and look at the average price per ticket. And then we look at the average price. We have that. We also want to look at the count of tickets that was sold. So we are looking at the ticket count. For that, let's create another measure. And we call that measure ticket count. And for that, we are going to count the distinct transactional ID. So we look distinct count no blank, just to remove any blank values, and then we count it for the different transaction IDs. So now we have these two main measures. Let's just start analyzing what we have. So we can go now into the visualization. We pick the new cards and we can look at the ticket count. So we can look at the number of ticket counts in the period, and also we can look at the average price of a ticket in this time period. Okay. And yeah, what else is interesting for us to analyze? We have a number of category fields, so we can look at that. For example, we can look at, let's see, the purchase type by the ticket count. So how many tickets were purchased at the station as compared to purchased online. Let's just first format this so that we can just do copy and paste to get all our formatting right. We go in and we take out the grid line. We can also set the title. For that we want it to be 14, but let's use Arial instead so that it shows up a bit more. Then now we can go back, and because we have the title here, we can just switch off the x-axis and the y-axis title as well. And this is off, and this already looks so much better. What we are going to do, another thing we are going to look at is, by the way, because this is 2, I think a better visualization for this would be a donut chart, and this already looks good. We would have to do one more adjustment, and then we can look at the details label. We look at the value. We also change that so Arial, and yeah, this shows up way better, so we will just stick to that for now. Let's go in and look at other things. So apart from payment type, what payment method was used, since we've already formatted this. Yeah, so now we just we take this out, and then we look for the payment method. So we realize that usually in most of the cases a credit card was used, and there was a contactless pay and also a debit card, which is good for us to analyze. Let's just bring other information, just try to analyze that. And we look at the real card, so from the description whether the person was using a real card also or not. So instead of the payment method, we replace it with the real card. So we see a lot of people didn't have the real card, which amounts to 66%. And then we have the real card classification for adults. That was next of about, 15%. And then we also had disabled, about 9.7%. And the others were senior. So that is what we have here to take a look at. What we also would like to analyze is, when does this trip okay? So for that we can pick a ribbon chart in this case. So let's go back, and then we do that. So we can look at the departure time, the hour that the trip happened. That I believe is depart time. So we put that in the x-axis, and for the y-axis we look at the I think we can look either at when this happened. This is from 12 to the whole 24 hours in a day. Or let's check whether, let's go and look in the data description. So in the metadata description, whether there is a better column to analyze. So a better would be when did the date of the journey. Okay, and then we have the departure time already. And yeah, so I believe this would be okay for now. Yeah, and let's just, not just the ticket count, this would mean the number of tickets that departed at these times basically. So now we can also go in here and take out the grid lines for now. Yeah, and then we can come back to this a bit later. So we can also look at the average price per ticket type. So for that we can also look at our bar chart, and then we now use the average price in the y-axis, and then we look at the ticket type. So we see we have 3 different categories for the ticket type, and the one that has the highest is anytime. We also go in and just take off these grid lines. I'm just going to bring the price here because the other ones has to do with the payment methods, and we have all the purchase information also here. For this, I'm just going to take off I'm just interested in the percentages so that it shows up better. Yeah, this is better. And we can leave it to 1 decimal place. So that this is already looking good, and we do the same thing for this. That's 1 decimal place. And we just look at the percentage of total so that is easy. I'll just apply this formatting also here. So now we base on the different ticket type, we see how much was bought for advanced, for off-peak, and then for anytime. So anytime seems to be the highest in terms of the pricing. So I think, yeah, if you buy anytime, then it could include peak seasons. So that makes sense that the average price would be higher than if you are buying the ticket in advance, or you are also buying it in off-peak time, then it would be cheaper. Another thing we could look at is the ticket type, how many actual tickets were bought. So we can also do this. Instead of average price, then we are going to look at the number of tickets that were bought. So yeah, a lot of people just bought the advanced tickets also, a lot more than having off-peak and also anytime. Oh yeah, sorry, in this case it's the opposite. So in most of cases people plan ahead, so they bought more tickets, but then that was the lowest price. So that is the relationship between this and that. And then followed by off-peak, people bought more of that. Then the anytime had the least amount of tickets that were sold, but then this had the highest price. We can combine these 2 bar charts into one by using a clustered column chart. So we can then do this. So now we can go here and then we'll put the average price rather in a line, and then for the ticket type we will put it in the x-axis so that we would have the relationship. So though we sold more advanced tickets, it had the lowest price compared to the others, and the ones that was just sold anytime, so which would mean like I think more of when it was exactly needed with no planning ahead, those they sold more tickets, but those had the highest price as well. So this is very interesting. We can just take this off for now, and then we can also look at the revenue that was generated when the tickets were purchased. So how much money was accrued. For that we can use let's take this away. Just remove this, and then we can use a line chart for that. So we can look at when the ticket was purchased to see revenue per each month. So when the ticket was purchased, which would be, let's search for dates. Days of purchase in this case, and then we can take the year out because it was, the whole data is just for 1 quarter. We can look at it, we can exactly even look at it like this. Just take out the hierarchies, and then we can look at the revenue. Let's see whether there was revenue here. So let's see the column that was, we can put, for example, the price together, so how much they made per each month. Let's see. Just a second. So this would be the price. Let's create another measure for this. So we have revenue would be cost, so we get the total price. And this should be it. So we put this in the y-axis, and we take away the grid lines from it quickly. And then we also take off the vertical axis. So we had data from January until April, which is 1 quarter. It looks like there was a lot of dip in March, end of February, beginning of March. So this is like one interesting thing to investigate, what happened during this time that the tickets, we had very low revenue, which would correspond likely to the amount of tickets that was sold. So this is one thing to investigate more as a data analyst, to try to understand the business reasoning for this and whether there are any points for improvements in this. So we have our, we already have this. So we see when the tickets, when the trips had departed. Now another thing that we can analyze is the journey status. For that, we see that we can have a journey status of, let's go and check, either on time or the journey, whether it was on time or it was cancelled or a trip was delayed. So we can basically look at trip counts and then break it down by how many of them had delays and try to also see the reason for that delay. And a very good visual for this is to use the decomposition tree, which is located here. So we would make it a bit bigger. And then we can look at the ticket count and try to break it. So we have this as the baseline, and then we look at it based on the journey status. So now if we expand this, we have the higher value showing up here. We would see how many were on time as compared to delay and then cancelled. And then we would want to understand if there was a cancellation or a delay, what was the reason for that. So for that also, expand again. let's save it for now. The golden rule in computing: save as you go on. And then we can look for, there was a reason for delay, so we can also add that here. And then we can also check whether there was a refund request because of delay or because of cancellation. So I think in this case, let's just expand this as well. Oh, we brought this one here. It has to be the last one. The journey status, let's go in and change this. When we were doing it, let's just take this one off quickly. Let me just redo it. It asked us which one to choose. I believe this is better, that we look at it based on either the lowest value or let's pick the lowest value, which in this case, yeah, I just put in the same thing. Let's see if I bring it again. Yeah, either way, we are going to put this back, and then we add the reason for the delay, and then whether there was a refund request, so we put it here. And then reason for delay, yeah. So for a cancel trip, we would want to see what was the reason for delay, and so you can see when there was a cancellation, in most of the time the highest reason was the signal failure, and then the next was staffing and weather issues. And then we would want to see whether there was a refund requested, so we also expand on this, and then we see whether there was a refund requested or not. So this is a way to kind of try to get to the root cause of an issue with one visualization. You can always analyze by different drivers that led to a journey being cancelled or not. So yeah, this already is looking good. This is a good time to arrange all our visuals and size them. Then we can continue with the analysis going forward. So let's do that. For that, let's set the background color, the canvas background color. Let's pick this color, and this already looks good, which goes better with this. And just let's try to sort out this. So for this, we would go into the properties, and then we will set the horizontal and vertical to both 10, so that there is like spacing around the bar, and then we pick it up from there. I already put in some determine some numbers that, or some sizing that is would be good, so I'll just look and just fill that in quickly. So we have the height, we are going to use, let's say 300 for now. First let me do the positioning. So this is 10, this is also 10, and it's a good time to lock the visuals so that they don't move as you are trying to set them up properly. So for that, we go to view, and then we'll go to lock objects, and we have this, so that everything is locked into place, and then we can basically don't have it moving around. So for what is a good width for this, we can keep this as 115 for now, and then the width I put in 340. Yeah, this is already okay. And then let's quickly move on to the next one, which is the average price per ticket. That also we would set it as 10, and the horizontal can start from, I believe, This, let's say 360. Yeah. And then the height of this has to be 320, and then the width would be 366, or let's say 370. We can come back and increase it a bit later, or let's make it 400. Yep. And then for the other visual, the height would also be 330. Or 320, and the width would be, let's first determine this. Okay, let me put it like 7.5, 60 plus 10, so make it 770. Oh, 770. Yeah, and then we have this as 10 to move it up, and for the width we'll make it a bit bigger. For that, let's do 840 and see. Oh, it doesn't fit, so 830. And so the right would be 820, so that we'll have a spacing at the side as well. It looks like I didn't apply the general formatting to the title, so we go to the title and we just change it to Arial as well, so that the size would correspond to the donut chart as well. Let's just do that quickly for the Arial chart as well. So this already is looking good, and so we will come to the next level. And for that, we go back into the properties, and for the horizontal, we always set it to 10, so that is the spacing. And for the vertical, because this was 320, there is a 10 here, 330, we will put in a spacing of 15, so this would be 345. We will put in, oh, the vertical has to be 345 rather, 345, and this has to be 10. The ticket class, we also need one more visual. Let's just bring this up again. And for this, we want to analyze the ticket class. Ticket class. And let's look at this by and for this also by the ticket count quickly. And we apply the same formatting home. Yeah, we formatting here. So now let's set the size of this as well. So the positioning, the horizontal is always 10. Here has to be 345 to match. And the width of the height of this also should be 320. And finally, for the width, we do 385. 85. Yeah. This is good. And then the next thing would be, we had these two classes. So we have the ticket class, we see the standard, and then first class ticket. The next thing would be to look at the purchase type. Was it purchased at a station or online? And for that also, the height we set it to 320. And the width also would be, this is the picture type, yeah. So the width would be, in this case, we make it 387 because of the sizing. We would have like some 5 pixels to kind of distribute, so this one gets extra, so as compared to the other one that was 387. And now for the horizontal, it would then be 407, and for vertical should be 345. So this is good, it's already hidden here. We are going to then move this as well, so 320 constant for the height. The width would be 38, in this case I think 385 also. And then for the horizontal has to be 407, I believe. And then the vertical would be 345. Oh, the horizontal would have to move because that was the 345 was for the other one. So this is 805. Yeah, good. And the last one would be this, where we have a height of 320 as well. A width of, it should be like 387 or 388, yeah, because we were spreading the 5 pixels. And then horizontal has to be 1200. And finally the vertical has to be 345. So yeah, this is already looking good. The titles are set to Arial, and also the background has been set, and everything is being arranged nicely. Now we go to the next level and do the same thing. For the horizontal is 10, and for the vertical we keep it at, the height is also 320, and the width would be 705. And now the vertical has to be 680. Yep, so vertical for this would be 680 as well. 680. And the horizontal for this would be 805. Put it here. And this was 680. And then for this, the width is 845. And the height has to be 320. And now the width, the vertical would fit in the space. Okay, now this is hitting the edge, so we will just add additional 10 to the main canvas so that this fits properly. Let's just add plus so that there is a bit more space at the bottom as well. Okay, we have the main arrangement. Another thing that it would be interesting to see would be the ticket count by week, and then for that we can see whether as a company we have a target to hit, whether we are on that threshold or not. So for that we can use the KPI visual for that. So we will put it here, and then we would have to go and calculate the week column. So we can go to new column calculation, and for that look at, so we can call this week, which should be the week, let's see whether which we can look at the date of journey instead of the date of ticket. We can look at which dates we would need. Let's just look at that number. We can look at the weekday, and we can also look at the week number. In this case, we are interested in the week number. The weekday is like 1 to 7, Sunday to Saturday, and the week number is the 52 weeks in a year. So we look at the week number, and we just consider which date to use. In this case, we can use the date of purchase. So let's look at when it was purchased, and then this is all we need. So we have this. So now let's continue, and so we would want to look at whether we are hitting our target. For that, what we can do is to have a bar chart. We are in this space, and then we would want to look at our week, and then we would want to look at revenue per week. So we can say, okay, we would want to look at our revenue per week, and then we just take out you're going to just take out the values here. We just want to see the trend, and then same for this. And the other thing that we can do is to remove the grid lines. Let's see. Now both of the grid lines are also gone. And then let's just quickly check this before we take it off. We see we had revenues from like 40,000 thereabouts. So let's say our target is 40,000. What we can do now is, let's take this off again. We go into this button, which is for your further analysis, usually for trend line forecasting and things, and we say, okay, our target was for every week. We wanted a revenue of 40,000, so you add a line to this, and then this is the line color, the width. So this would be the average that we would want. Take it to the back, and then we want a data label for that. So this is the average, which is around 40,000, or we could have just put in a fixed line, a constant line of just putting in 40,000, but then we just want to see what was above the average considering everything. So we would want to keep this as in thousands. I think this is better. Let me just use the 40,000 instead. So let's turn this off. Instead of the average line, let's put in a constant line, and then we say we want our value to be 40,000, 4123, and so for every week we expect to get this value, and then we will put in the data label for this, which is the 40,000 target. And what we would want to do is, for the display unit, keep it in thousands. So we have this 40,000 here, and so we would see which ones hit the target and which ones didn't. And we would just also change the, quickly we go back to change the title formatting to make it Arial as well, and then we format it a bit better. So for this, the horizontal is already 10. Let me check whether this is locked. So we lock it once more. Let me just look at the sizing I put in here. This is 195, so we make the height 195, and the width is 340, so the here would be 135. Let's do that. Yeah, so that it fits in perfectly. So basically we have this. What we can then do is, instead of this bar chart, we can go into the visualization pane and select an aerial chart for this, so that we just see, okay, this is we just see the trend and where it was below this target line or not. So this is already looking very good. One more thing that we can improve here is, instead of just looking at the ticket counts by the departure time, let's look at it by the departure hour. So here we will go back here and we'll create a new column, and then we'll call that, let's say, your depart hour, which would be the hour of departure. So we'll pick this one rather, so we see the different hours that the trip took place. And then we would go here, and instead of the departure time, let's do the hour. Okay, this is also looking really good here. So we see when all the trips departed, and then we see the general outline. We see they have two peaks here. This peak is starting from 6 o'clock in the morning up until around let's say here it's like 9. This is the peak period. So basically this is your departure hour. This is 7, this is 9, and then we see this peak here, and then we also see another peak starting from 4 p.m. up until here, up until 6. So when people go to work and close from work, this is expected. So this is the general trend that a lot of trips departed by that time. Okay, so this is looking good already, and we changed the title to match up with the others as well, just to be consistent. This is also aerial. And other things that we can analyze was which was the route that was mostly taken. Look at on time versus cancelled and delayed a bit more in detail. So let's just create a new page and quickly do that as well. So basically we can go back here and change the canvas background to, this was the color we wanted to use. We just take out the transparency so that we have everything. And we can, so in this page we didn't have more of the journey status. What we can do is to look at the number of tickets counts for each of the journey statuses. So let's basically start with that. So we can use a different visual for that, and then we can put in the number of tickets sold. And so this is the number of tickets sold, and then we can look at it for based on the statuses, I believe. Okay, so in most of the time we had they were on time, and there were like smaller percentages that were basically delayed and cancelled. So then we look at this, and then we would also want to look at whether the number of tickets that were, look at the refund request. Quickly for this, let me turn off the grid lines. This goes off, then this already looks nice. We take off the titles here as well, and those here, and basically let's see, we see the totals. There is no need for the legend as well. We take the legend out to make everything look nicer. And now what we will do is we can just copy and paste this so that we have the formatting here. Temporarily first I save it, then I go into view and then lock. And then what we can look at is the refund request. So we can come here and say this is just two. We can use either a bar chart for this, or we can even use a donut chart for that. And then we look also here a bit more. Let's first keep it like this. The amount of tickets that had, so we'll take this one out and look at the reason for the delay. So we see in most times it's based on weather. This is a better way to display that. Whether it shows there, no, in most cases it was blank. So what we can do is we can create another column and just call this unknown instead of it being blank. This is based on the reason, so we create another column and then we say cancellation reason. On time, not on time reason, because it can be either cancelled or it was delayed. Not on time, put here reason. Then we could say we could basically say if there's a column called reason, I believe. What was the column name? Let's just keep this and just go and look at it. Oh, reason for delay. Yeah. Reason for delay. If reason for delay, if it's blank, so we can do if it's blank. Then we say unknown, else we just keep whatever reason it was before, so we keep it like this. And then so not on time reason, so instead of this we would say, or we can just call it delay reason. Call it delay reason, just to keep it simple. So we can have we put in delay reason rather. Oh, let's go in and check. This is the reason for this is the delay. This is the reason for delay. And in this case, let's see. Oh, okay, this makes sense. Let me just double check this. When we are on time, there is no reason for a delay because did the delay happen, yes or no? So we don't really have a column that says yes or no. So all of these have been filtered out for on time, and we see it is blank in this case. So this is something that we don't have to consider for the reason for delay. What we would have to do is we can just go in here and the reason for delay, we can select everything here and just uncheck this so that we see what were the actual reasons for delay. So this is bringing in more like business context where it's like the data analysis, so that sometimes something seems off. It's very good to go and investigate why and just use logical reasoning to come up with a solution, or getting together with other business or domain experts for them to help you to explain this, so that the data should make sense basically at the end of the day to the stakeholders. Another thing we can look at that is interesting is to look at, for each day of the week, how much is the number of departure, for example. So for that, we would need to get the weekdays. So instead of this, because technically we didn't use this, we can just let's just call this week name. So we can go in basically, and it would be week. And which date should we use? Let's check for which dates. Maybe journey date. Yeah, the journey date. So this basically is going to return the 1 to 7, but we don't want 1 to 7. We want to convert it into we would want to convert this into like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. For that, what we can do is to, let's first look at what this gives us. Not this, so we put in, this will give us the 1, 2, 3, 7. So basically we would see that here, and we can wrap a format around this, and then we can say either we want it short or long. So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, it will bring out the total name. If you make it 3, then it's going to give us the short version. So we would have this, and now we can have a matrix table. A matrix table here, where we would, let's do this, we can have the value would be the ticket count, so the number of tickets, and then we would have the, it's called week, the week name. Let's see what we get. Yeah, we can also go in and sort these. We can go in and sort these, and then we look at the different months. I hope we have a month column. Let's just see there. This is purchase. Let's pick this month rather. So we have January, February, March, and what we can do is we can just try to say that it should sort in based on a category. So we can go in and say if it's Friday, it should be 1. If it's another day, then it should be 2, 3, 4. For that, we would need to create another table so that we can sort it by that. So we would say new table, and we'll call it days of the week, days of week sort, and then it will be equals to, and then we can say we can use if, what do we do here, we can just put in some values that this should be equals to let's just create, or basically what we can do is we can enter the values. So let's just cancel this one out, and then we can do enter data. This is the easiest way to do it, I believe. And then we call this days of week sort, and then the other one would be the order. So we can start from Sunday S1, then two, then we have Tuesday, there is also another way to create this by using, it's called the data table function, I believe. That is more flexible, because for now, for this, when we enter this, it's more difficult to change it, the values. But then if we do that, it's more easier to come in and change it. For example, if I now understand it to be day 7, then that is easy. So day 6 and Saturday as 7. And the table is called the table. So we just go and we load this in basically, and we go back here. So now we are going to go into the mesh, the relationship. We are going to bring this here based on the other one is called, is it weekday or week name? We are going to connect this to the status, and it has to be, let's do like a minute to one rather, so opposites, and it can be single because this will just be pulling this in, and then we can go back, we go here, go quickly to this, then we go to sort by in this case this sort has to be based on the number. Yeah, I think we can even put, let's try it here, so we can put let me just see, sort by week now. No, this is wrong. The sort has to be, let's just do this. We have to create, anyway, we have to create this. We have to create this. Let's create one more. And we call this week number equals to week number equals to, let's see, maybe we can make our lives easier. I don't think this would work, so we work sort by the week number. Oh, it worked, so there was no need to create results in ascending. So we have the we have the number 1 to 7, so there was no need to create the other table even. So this is just sorted, so we can what we can do is go in here to go to the, to give it like a background color, and then if you go in here, we'll try to change this, the highest to this, so that we can basically see where we had the highest value. So for example, on Sundays across the across the months, then March had the highest in terms of trip count. We can also do one more thing to the trip count to make it a bit easy. We can go and add a comma here, so that would also show, making our lives a bit easier for readability sake. And then we look at the month of January, for example, and we realize that we had the highest ticket count as to 1417. So Wednesday had the highest in the month of January. Then we see for February it was Thursday with 1310. So we just basically want to see, is there a pattern to the number of journey departure? Yeah, whether there is a pattern to it, whether we see on Mondays more, we see like more tickets, Tuesdays we see more tickets or not. That is basically what we wanted to check. But then if we look at it in total, like I can just apply this to the totals as well, so that we see what happens. Then say put in a number here. Oh, then for the totals is asking us for a number. Yeah, scratch that. Let's just put it as we had. So we just had it like this. So we have like a tie to highest, which was Thursdays and Sundays with 4580. So we will just push this one here, and then later we'll come back to adjust this. Oh, this shouldn't be, this should be a reason for the delay. This should be for the delay. And then we take out this, so this is how it should be. Okay, so now what we can look at is, we can look at the routes that had people apply on more. So for that, we would have to create a new column called routes. And then we would have to look at the departure versus arrival. In the data dictionary, let me just try to see if I would find the departure station. So we need a departure station, and so we would need to concatenate this, and then we'll put a space, so we'll put a dash and this, and another space. Then we look at the destination so that we can get a route. So we see we go from London, King's Cross to York, London, Paddington to Reading, so we can put that in here as the route. On the x-axis, and then we can put the number of tickets that were bought for that route. So we take away the grid lines once more, and we see this is a lot. So then this doesn't give it gives insight, but then for more like feasibility, making the usability of the dashboard, we can limit it, for example, to the top 10. So we go here, we pick top, and we say we want to just focus on the top 10 routes that most people went to by buying tickets. So based on this would be based on the tickets. We put it by here. Here. And then we apply the filter. So this really minimizes everything. So this is where a lot of people went. What we can do then is we can do this, but now instead of just this, we can break it down. We can break it down by, let's go back here. We can put in a legend for the journey status without just understand how many were delayed, not delayed. So now instead of just looking at it like this, what we can do is to stack them on top of each other. So we would want to do the opposite. Let's see how we would want to change it around. And see whether I can. Yeah, in this case it's by this. Let me just check how, if you would want to, maybe from the legend, top left text. Let's try to find it together. Yeah, okay. Let's reverse the order. Yeah, so that the on time that is more has like more prevalent in terms of the bar length. That should be what happens. And I would have wished that the colors just changed automatically. If not, let's just do it ourselves. So we pick the on time, and we want that to have the days color, and then the delayed, I want it to have that color, maybe a bit more lighter. And then if it was cancelled, should have this. So we can basically break this down by this, but then you would see how many we have, for example, in total. What we can do is do one more thing. We can put like a total label here so that you'll see the total easily, and then you can see the breakdown when you hover over it. So this word is a good visual to replace this, because this gives the same information but then broken down by the journey statuses to see. So another thing that in this case, we bring this here, and then we can have the similar bar chart, but in this case we would have like a stack column chart. We are going to, and maybe this is even better. One more thing we can do, if just looking at this, you realize that it is difficult to kind of really compare the on time across, compare what you take in terms of proportion, what is the proportion of the delayed across the different routes also. So a better visual that we can use is to use like we should just stack everything on top of each other. So now we don't really care, means that we don't really care about the number of tickets on that route per se, but then we see everything in terms of percentages. So this is also a very good thing. When you over it anyway, you would see the ticket count per the journey starter. So in this case, we see for route Manchester Piccadilly to Liverpool Lime Street for the journey starters on time. There were 3,984, which accounts for 86%. So that is a better way to compare. So by just looking at it, you would realize, okay, maybe if I kind of draw like a line here, I would see how many were on time versus late. One thing that we quickly see is for the top 10, this really stands out, right? That there is an issue with Liverpool Lime Street to London Euston. It just deviated from just looking at this pattern because it had a lot more delay compared to like on time. It had like 19.87. So based on this company, if the assumption is that they would want to have like on time 85% of the time, we realize that this is woefully below. Or if, for example, they want to have, I don't know, like 90, I don't know when it got so 90. First, let's just go in and just make this to 1 decimal place. So this would basically have to do with the, why isn't it showing here? Oh yeah, if by turning on the data label, and let's make it 1 decimal place and see. Can I just make it maybe here? Yeah, but then we should just make it 1. Let's see how this affects it. And this doesn't affect the tooltip. We can create tooltips for this, but then I think we should, instead of just showing this, what we can also do is just turn this whole thing off, and then we could put in like a fixed line and see when did we get to this threshold. So we can set like a fixed line. So we come back to constant line, we add it here, we can say 0.9 and see where, if we have like an SLA, like a service level agreement with our customers, and we say we are targeting 90% of on time. So for which routes did we get this 90%, right? So we'll see that we just hit that target here for few of them, right? For few of these things, that is when we hit the target. If not, then we are below the service level agreement. So it means that we have to work more to get it to this 90%. So I believe this 90% is a good target for a company to make sure that they are 90% on time. Let's bring this behind. And yeah, see. And then what if we do like a shaded area? This is interesting, but then now we put a data label that is like 90%, and we can move it in this case to the right because it doesn't conflict with the percentages on the left. We put it to the right, and yeah, maybe we change the color. I'm not sure which color is good. Let's put in green to see. Oh no, this is the blue is for this. This was okay. I was thinking of the line color. Green, no, maybe black. And let's bring it be in front rather. Yeah, I believe this is way better. So now we see the different routes, And then we see for the different gender statuses, where was it on time and not on time. Another thing we can do is to do the similar analysis, but then in this case, in terms of the hour, the journey, hour of journey, and we see, do we have more cancellation, let's say at the peak hours, 6 to 9, or we have more cancellations of peak hours. That is something that is also interesting to look at. So we can put in the departure hours, and then yeah, to make our life easier, let's just delete this and copy and paste and just bring it to the side. And now in terms of the tickets, sorry, in terms of the routes, we will put, no, in terms of the journey status, we replace it with, what am I doing? No, not the routes here. This is what I wanted to do, and this would be the status again. Okay, we can look at it in this way, and so we see where do we have most delay. So it looks like 9 o'clock for, oh no, sorry, this is 8. We had significantly more delays as compared to some others. This is also prominent. What we can do is to make it maybe a bit simple in this case, to just have on time versus not on time. So for that, we would have to create maybe 2 measures for that. So instead of us having 2 columns for that, instead of having the cancelled and delayed, can go into one bracket, and then if not, we go into another bracket. So we will quickly go and create 2 here, and then we will create one a new called like journey status new. Then we can say if it was on time, we say on time, right? But if not, then we just call it not on time. So if the journey status was on time. Oh, I already showed you there. If journey status equals to, this is on time, comma, then what we would say is it is still, you can just copy this, on time, else we would say not on time, or we just say late. Yep, we are missing one. Okay, so now we would have just 2 categories. Oh, wait a second. If this I saw is, oh yeah, we would have to clear all the filters. So we would have late and on time. So in this case, we are going to bring the status new, and then we will just call it, yeah, let's just leave it like this. So now what we would do is we would have to go in and change we have to go into the columns and change the color around. So this would be that. And now if it's late, we want to show it's as red. Yeah. So our on-time target is to have 90%. So now we are looking at the different hours in the day to see when we were on time versus late. So we clearly see that for 8 o'clock, we are below the threshold of the 90, 9 o'clock as well, but then the proportion is less, and also when it's 11. So these are some of the hours that we can target to see what is happening at 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and sometime also at this is at 5 and 4 to improve that. And the serious thing with this is the peak hours, right? So if we look back and we see what are the peak hours were from starting from 6 up until 9. These were the peak hours, and also from 3 till 6. So that it is not good that for the peak hours that we are expecting a lot more people, we are having late arrivals to the destination. So we really have to work on that to improve. And this is one message that you can take across as a recommendation to your business stakeholders. So I can just go in here, and for the I'll just keep it. Let's just keep it and just collagen status as well. Okay, so let's go in and just arrange this nicely and make our lives easy. So we have, let me just quickly check, because this we don't have a lot of visuals. We can just keep just 16 by 9. So I'm just going to quickly try to fit everything so that they have even spaces around them. And so for the position, I'll make it 10-10 as usual. Let me check whether this is locked. So we are just going to lock it 10 and 10. And so for the height, I believe this is the height, 288, make it 300. Let's see. Okay, 300 is good. And the width was, so we keep it at 270. So we would have here as this also 270, and then the height is 300, and this is going to start at 290, 290, and this is 10. Okay, so we have the spacing. We do this as well. So we had, this is 300, sorry, the width is 270, so which will be like 540 plus 10, 50, 60, 70. So this can start from 570. The vertical is 10. And because this is a horizontal bar chart, instead of, and this is 300 also, 300, we can make it 310, make it a bit bigger. Yeah. And so 310 plus, it was, the position was at, sorry, this one, it was at 570. So 570 plus 300 will be 870, 880, 890 for this. So this should start at 890. This also at 10. And the width of this should be 380, so that we would have 10 also here, and this should be 300. Okay, just a second. And then so we have 300 plus 10, 310. This should start at 320. So we would have 320 and this at 10 as well. And for this, let's see the width is 600, see how far. And the height should be yep, looks good. So we will do this 390 as well quickly. 390. Then this one was at 320. So we put this at 320 to make the other one fit. 390. And one more thing, this was like 640. I would make it 620. 620. And the horizontal put is at 650. Okay, so if this is at 650, this can be 630 then. Let's try it. And then the height should be 390. So yeah, this is looking really good. What I'm going to do is, instead of this ticket count, I'm just going to change the measure name and just make it tickets to make our lives easier, so that it automatically changes. There's a few more formatting I would have to turn off the X and Y axis of this. So we go back quickly, turn it off, and then turn this also off. And the reason why we are turning this off is that we have this information already in the title. So to make everything clear and for readability sake and for making the dashboard clean, then there is no need to keep all of this as well. So we do that as well here, and then we go in and do that. And one last thing is to change the title to Arial as well, just for consistency. Instead of doing all this, we can also create a JSON theme with the colors and also the font styling and just apply it once and for all. That would be another tutorial on how to do that. So for the meantime, let's just see. Let me first save this and let me see, does this change this? Yeah, it changes that. So we apply the same formatting here. Yeah, it changes it, so it makes everything Arial. And okay, and this doesn't have a title, but then you would see the tickets per week. I just add the title quickly, so we can have like tickets weekday as an example. So yeah, this really looks nice. Maybe let me just try this. What do I think if I change this into a donut chart? Okay, yeah, I like it. And then I'll add a percentage as well. So we will come into the detail and then we'll just put percentage of total. And in this case, we can leave the make it Arial as well. What we can do is to make it 1 decimal place, and for the title we should come into the legend. Let's see, I can just leave it no, yes. And this looks really good. So basically this is the end of the video, and we can just write let's just write like a recommendation from here. Let's get a text box. So what we can say is recommendation. So based on the 90% based on 90% service level agreement with customers, have to analyze further, this we can even do. We have to improve, we have to, let's say, improve the on-time percentage, during peak times, and also for routes Liverpool Lime Street to London. So this can be like a recommendation we make. In our next video we are going to look a bit more into this recommendation and kind of create a PowerPoint out of it, telling a story that we want to present to our stakeholders. So this can be used for the operations manager, operations people, but then for looking at trends and recommendation for more strategic level management, then we will just have to pick up the key points as a summary for that. So we can either do that in PowerPoint or we can create a summary page for it. So I'm just going to, let me see whether I can try, maybe cut, and I put it here as a recommendation. And let's do this unlock so that I can, this can be better. And we pick up area. So this is the recommendation. There are some other recommendations that we'll go on in more detail in our next video. So thank you everybody for watching this, and see you in the next episode.